Okay, let me know real quick. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear and see me okay, and we'll get going. Okay, just waiting for that thumbs up. Slight delay. Excellent. Okay, let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. The Democrats will retain control of the U.S. Senate. It is official. Yesterday we found out that Mark Kelly won the Senate seat in Arizona. Now we found out that Catherine Cortez Masto has won the Senate seat in Nevada. Democrats officially have 50 seats in the U.S. Senate. We've held on to the Senate. With Herschel Walker, we have the opportunity to have a 51-49 Senate. So really big news. I mean, not just big news in the sense that holding on to the Senate is a big deal, but to do so in a year where we were supposed to lose tremendously, like with this big red wave election, a year where there's 10% inflation, to hold on to the Senate, not only hold on, but potentially expand our Senate majority is a pretty incredible turn of events. People have been asking, like, what would be the benefits of a 51-49 Senate versus a 50-50 Senate where we have a tie-breaking vote anyway. So basically, there are no more discharge petitions. That's what would happen in a 50-50 Senate. So any deadlocked committee, you have to do a discharge petition. It takes more time. 51-49 means that we wouldn't have to do that. It means that Schumer can pick up the pace of judicial confirmations. If we've ever had any indication that any better of an indication of just how important the courts are and putting judges who are not right-wing hacks onto the judicial system it's right now, and we can see just how much damage that they could do. So basically, holding on to the Senate, we're going to talk about the House in just a moment, but holding on to the Senate is a game changer, and potentially having a 51-49 majority in the Senate is a game changer in terms of ramping up the speed of judicial confirmations, which could not be more important. With that said, let's talk about some other races. So to give you an indication of how the House is looking right now, top line, Democrats still have the opportunity to win the House. Let's just make that perfectly clear right up top. Democrats do have the opportunity to still take the House. Right now, officially, races have been called for 203 Democrats and I believe 211 Republicans. There are a number of races that haven't been called yet. Democrats have to win out the majority of them, but all of them are still within the realm of possibility. The vast majority of these races that still need to be called are in California. That's important because California gives about a week for any mail ballots to continue to arrive, so we shouldn't expect any final confirmation for a few days still. But of those California results that we still don't have a final call on is California's 9th, 6th, 21st, 26th. We just got a call tonight on the 49th, which is Mike Levin, who I interviewed a few days ago. So that's a big win. We found out that, well, let's stick with California for a moment. Then we get into the trickier California races. By the way, Katie Porter has expanded her lead as well. So Katie Porter's in good shape. But then we get into some tricky territory where Democrats would have to win in what are historically or traditionally very red seats. And so we're looking to flip the seat where Will Rollins is running in California's 41st, which has taken part of Palm Springs, which is one of the most pro-LGBT cities probably in the entire country. So right now that's pretty much represented by like a homophobe. And so that would be a big win, but it's going to be a tough race. Right now, Ken Calvert, the Republican, is up 2,100 votes over Will Rollins. So we'll watch as the mail ballots chip away at leads like that. Remember, when Democrats, the night of election night in 2018, Democrats had taken, I believe, about 26 seats. By the time all was said and done, mostly in California, and those mail ballots had the opportunity to finally arrive, we had 40 seats. So a lot can happen as mail ballots continue to trickle in. Remember, Democrats vote by mail in vastly larger numbers than Republicans do, and they vote in big numbers by mail in California. So we should expect to see big numbers come in for these California races that are still outstanding, and those numbers should skew heavily in Democrats' favor. We're also waiting on a race results in California's 22nd congressional district. That's Bakersfield area, another very red area of the state. So we'll wait for these races to come on to continue getting counted. One race that I've been especially interested in is Colorado's 3rd congressional district. That's Lauren Boebert versus Adam Frisch. I just interviewed Adam Frisch. That interview will be out tomorrow. So definitely, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, subscribe and hit the bell, because I believe the next video that will be released is an interview with Adam Frisch, and we discuss how many more ballots are outstanding and when we expect those ballots to drop. So any questions that you have about Colorado's 3rd congressional district, that race between Frisch and Lauren Boebert, that'll be answered tomorrow. I don't want to give too much more information because the interview is really good. I sat down with him for 20 minutes, asked him every question I had about all the technical aspects, how many ballots are left, how those ballots seem to be breaking so far, where those ballots are expected to come from, how many overseas ballots, when we expect to get them. So any questions that you have about that race, definitely subscribe to this channel, because that interview is going to be coming out tomorrow morning. So that's the House and the Senate. We have gubernatorial races that have broken in Democrats' favor in a number of those states. Wisconsin, we held on to the governor's race. Tony Evers was reelected there. Michigan held on to the governor's race. Gretchen Whitmer won, which means that we now have majorities in every branch of government in Michigan. We hold the state house, the state senate, and the governor's race. So the governor's seat. So that happened for the first time in 40 years in that state. So any Democratic priorities that were blocked by Republicans are finally going to be able to go through. Pennsylvania, we're waiting on results from the state house there to see if we've taken that. And in Oregon, Democrats held on to the governor's race. That was a closely contested one because there was a Democrat turned independent who had basically run as a spoiler candidate, and who Phil Knight, the old founder of Nike, had propped up to try to help the Republicans win. We're still waiting on one race, and that's a race that a lot of you are asking about, and that is Arizona, where we still don't have the results between Katie Hobbs and Kari Lake. I can say that Katie Hobbs is leading Kari Lake by 1.5 points so far. Disclaimer, I'm not a data analyst, but things do look good. I would much rather be Katie Hobbs than Kari Lake right now. As these mail ballots continue to come in, they've broken in Democrats' favor. She is leading by 1.5 points, so that is good news out of Arizona. I would much rather, again, be Katie Hobbs than Kari Lake. We did lose the governor's race in Nevada, but we did luckily win two super important races there, which were, again, Catherine Cortez Masto in the Senate and the Secretary of State's race. Of every single Secretary of State that was running on the Republican side as an election denier, every single one of them lost. Every last one, which is good news in the sense that all of these people ran behind every other Republican on the ticket. So, good news in the sense that these are the people who are in charge of counting the ballots and making sure that they're counted accurately. Americans saw that, and even Republicans who were willing to vote for Republican candidates for Senate, for the House, and the governor, they still refused to vote for these election-denying Secretary of State candidates. So just like a morsel of good news on the Secretary of State front, these were races that we were especially worried about before this election came up. I mean, these people were the literal last line of defense against stolen elections. Every single election denier lost. Every single person who Trump gave his stamp of approval to lost. That is objectively good news. That is one of the best parts of this entire midterm cycle. So with that said, we'll continue to keep an eye on the House races, but celebrate the fact that Democrats have officially won the U.S. Senate. We have the opportunity again for a 51-49 majority. That would make judicial confirmations leagues easier than they are now, and the pace of these judicial confirmations would pick up exponentially. So, we'll still fight for that seat in Georgia. The good news, too, is now that it's not a race about control of the U.S. Senate, now that it won't be nationalized so much as it would have been otherwise, where people would just come out and say, well, I might not like Herschel Walker, but it's important that Republicans are a check on Joe Biden, so I'll just vote for Republicans in the Senate. Now it's done. It's moot. Republicans have lost the Senate, so now these Georgians who might have considered voting for Herschel Walker just because they want Republicans to have some control in the Senate, now it doesn't matter. And so these people who don't like Herschel Walker aren't going to turn out to vote for him because there's really no point. Herschel Walker is a weak candidate. He ran 5-6 points behind Brian Kemp. So there are people, we already know that in Georgia, Herschel Walker was a drag on that ticket relative to other Republicans. So that's good news heading into this race right now, that really, if it's just a choice between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, and it doesn't have these national implications because Republicans can't win the Senate, that bodes well for us because of how unqualified and unpopular Herschel Walker is. So some more good news on the Senate front there. So all eyes now are going to be on the House. I will continue watching the House as closely as I can. We just had some really good news out of Washington. The Democrat just won in Washington's 3rd congressional district. That was a district that 538 had rated 98% chance of going to the Republicans. So a huge win for Democrats there. I have a list on my Twitter of races that we absolutely must win if we want a shot at holding on to the House. So there's a number of those races. I'll actually retweet it now so that if you check out my Twitter, you can see that. But there's a number of races that are still outstanding right now. Democrats haven't lost any of them thus far. Again, we'll wait and see how those results continue to come in. Shouldn't expect to see any definitive results from California while we wait for those mail ballots to come in. Again, they have about a week for them to come in. So we'll continue to keep an eye on them. I expect that we'll have some final results in Arizona. We have to win 2 Arizona seats. There's still 2 outstanding Arizona seats. Arizona's 1st and 6th. That's Hodge and Engel, both Democrats. If both of those pull off wins in Arizona, then we are absolutely still in the hunt for the House. We should have those results in the next day or so. So keep an eye on these Arizona races, and I'll keep an eye on Oregon races as well, Oregon and California. But we're in the hunt, and we can absolutely still hold on to the House if these races continue to break in our direction. So overall, good news. Someone's asking about Boebert and Frisch's race. Lauren Boebert's leading Adam Frisch by about 1,100 votes right now. I will give one tease about some information that I found out in the interview that's coming out tomorrow on this channel, and that is that there are about 5,000 to 6,000 ballots remaining in that district between overseas ballots, between mail ballots and whatnot, and ballots that haven't been counted yet. So some good news is that Lauren Boebert's leading by 1,100 votes, but they expect between 5,000 and 6,000 are still outstanding. So definitely some good opportunities for Adam Frisch to overtake Lauren Boebert in that district. But if you want to find out more about that race in particular, again, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell, because I believe the next video that's going to be released tomorrow morning should be my interview with Adam Frisch. So any questions you have about the Lauren Boebert situation, the Boebert of it all, that will be answered in the next video that's going to come out on my channel. So with that said, I'll quickly answer any questions if anybody has them, but those are the top lines. Good news in the House as we continue to remain in the hunt. Democrats have taken the Senate. Democrats have pretty much swept every election denier out of these Secretary of State races that they were running for, and we'll continue to watch the last gubernatorial race that's close, and that is Kari Lake versus Katie Hobbs in Arizona, but Katie Hobbs is leading Kari Lake in that race by 1.5 points. Katie Porter continues to extend her lead, so Katie Porter is in good shape in California, and again, as those mail ballots continue to come in and get counted, they'll skew overwhelmingly Democratic, and they will add to her lead. So I would much rather be Katie Porter than, I believe her opponent is Scott Baugh. I'd much rather be Katie Porter right now than anyone else. So I wanted to ask about the New Mexico state races. So let's see the House race in New Mexico. So I believe that we're waiting on Vasquez versus Harrell. Vasquez, the Democrat, is winning by about 300 votes, a little over 300 votes. That's about 0.5%. So we are in good shape in New Mexico. That would be a flip in the Democrats' side. That would be a flip on Democrats' behalf. So also keep an eye on New Mexico's 2nd congressional district. That would be a major win for us, and one that we need if we're going to continue, again, to stay in the hunt for control of the House. Okay, and I believe that's it. I have to get back now to re-record my podcast, because I'm the idiot that decided to record a podcast on Saturday morning in the middle of a midterm election cycle where they are continuing to count the votes. Imagine my surprise when I get a notification on my phone that Democrats have won the U.S. Senate, and there goes my podcast episode. So we'll be re-recording my podcast. If anybody, shameless plug, if anybody does listen to podcasts and is looking to add one to their arsenal, please consider listening to my podcast. It's called No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. It's on every podcast platform. I have interviews out this week with, again, Adam Frisch and Jon Favreau, Obama's speechwriter and host of Pod Save America. So 2 really good interviews this week, and would appreciate if you listen to podcasts, if you would check that one out. So I believe that that's it for right now. Thank you guys for joining me. Glad to know that there are just as many people who are having just as exciting of a Saturday night as I am. 7 o'clock on Saturday. There was a time where I used to be cool and would be out sometime around now, but alas, those times are long behind us. But this is a far better, I'd much rather be doing this than anything else right now. Again, one quick last top line for anybody just joining. Democrats have held the U.S. Senate. We're looking to expand our majority with the December 6th runoff in Georgia to make sure that we have a 51-49 majority, which would be huge. We are still in the running for the House. We're waiting on our last gubernatorial results between Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs. Katie Hobbs is winning right now. We've eliminated every Secretary of State election denier that was running on the Republican side. So overall, really good news. Coming out of these races. We've also got a trifecta in Maryland. We've gained a trifecta in Massachusetts. We flipped the state House and state Senate in Michigan. We're waiting to find out if we flip the state House in Pennsylvania and New Hampshire. This is the first election where the party in power didn't lose a single state legislative chamber since 1934. And to do it in a year where the president is relatively unpopular and we have high inflation is a testament to both Democrats, how well they did in terms of messaging this cycle, and just how extreme Republicans are this cycle. And I think people finally see that, which is good, because I know a lot of us have watched like this Republican extremism boil over, and we kind of just think like these people are doing and saying things that are so aggressively unpopular, and they never seem to be held to account for it. Like they can just say anything, and you'll still have like 51-49 Democrats to Republicans. Like just about everybody comes out and continues to support these people, no matter how vile their policy positions are. And so it always just seems like no matter what we do and no matter what they do, nothing changes. This election was a big wake-up call, a big change to that, because Republicans have spent the last 2 years basically broadcasting that they're going to enact the least popular policies in modern American history, the most broad-scale stripping of our civil liberties and our personal rights that we've seen, again, in modern American history, from healthcare to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, abortion rights, and the list goes on. So to see that so many Republicans or independents or Democrats were able to turn out and finally deliver that repudiation is so beyond important. And had they not delivered that repudiation, while Republicans were running on a platform of stripping women of their bodily autonomy and eliminating Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and possibly getting rid of contraception and same-sex marriage, had they not been repudiated at the ballot box, they would have been validated for that strategy, and they would have gone full bore, straight ahead, and done these things. Now, because they're moving forward with not only no mandate, but potentially no majority in any house, because of that, I think that this has been the single most important moment in terms of protecting democracy, because any other result than the one that we got would have shown them that, like, oh, you can run as election deniers. You can run on a platform of just stripping people of their rights just because you don't like them, or taking reproductive rights away, taking Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid away. And so by virtue of us being able to deliver this repudiation, I think this is finally, for the first time in years, a moment where the Republican Party is seeing that if we keep running these lunatics, we will continue to lose. And remember, not every Republican lost, but every election denier that ran for Secretary of State did lose. And so if you needed a more clear indication of the proclivity to fail than that, you won't be able to find it, because it's literally just the election deniers, just the batch of lunatic Trump, MAGA, America First Republicans that dragged their ticket down, that lost. And so I think this is the single best thing that could have happened for democracy right now, which is to finally send this message home to Republicans that if you continue in this direction, you will not win. And we also know definitively that we have a pro-democracy majority in this country, which is not to say that the majority of Americans are Democrats. It is to say that the majority of Americans will not support these MAGA anti-democracy candidates that are being put forward. And it's good to know that even in a midterm cycle where Republicans would normally outperform Democrats and have always outperformed Democrats historically, now we have that majority not only in general elections, which we had, where Democrats voted out Trump by 7 million votes in 2020, but we have that majority in a midterm cycle now too. And so that majority is real, it's lasting, and willing to turn out whenever we need them to turn out. So objectively good news on the democracy front, objectively good news on the Senate front. We're still in the race for the House, and good time. This election is going about as well as we could have ever hoped that it would. So stick with me. We'll continue to watch these House races as closely as possible. One last request: if you haven't yet subscribed and you're watching this right now and you want more updates, or you want to check out interviews as I continue to interview these people, definitely subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's the best way to support my work. So with that said, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending some time on your Saturday night. Glad to know that I'm not the only nerd around here, and hopefully the next time that I come on for a live stream, we'll have some more good news about the House. So with that said, talk to you soon, and thanks again.